A Monday fire at the Valero refinery killed one and injured four others. A major fundraiser will happen this weekend for the county's youth livestock show, and more materials have been approved for upgrading a portion of Plainview Road. All of this and more on This Week in Ardmore from Ardmore Leader. I'm News Director Michael Dean Smith. Thank you for downloading episode 51 of This Week in Ardmore, a weekly podcast from Ardmore Leader dedicated to independent coverage of local news. Let's catch up on a few things I was able to follow around Ardmore, Oklahoma for the week of February 13th. Online fundraisers have been set up for at least 3 of the 5 people injured after a fire at the Valero refinery on Monday evening. Valero has not released much information about the fire other than confirming 5 people were taken to hospitals. One Texas man, Jesse Biscamp, died on Wednesday after receiving third-degree burns to about 90% of his body. And at least 2 other men are expected to remain in the hospital for weeks or even months after suffering severe second- and third-degree burns. Boots and bow ties will be at the Ardmore Convention Center this weekend, raising money for the Carter County Junior Livestock Show. The annual Boots and Bow Ties Valentine's Day Ball marks 10 years this weekend as a major fundraiser for that youth livestock show scheduled for later this month at the Hardy Murphy Coliseum. The Carter County Saddle and Sirloin Committee holds this annual ball to raise money for the livestock show that dates back to the 1930s. Last year, the annual ball raised over $70,000 for the Carter County Junior Livestock Show. County commissioners held their weekly meeting on Monday and awarded a bid for geogrid rolls as part of the county's effort to rehabilitate Plainview Road just south of Ardmore. Geogrid rolls are used to stabilize soil beneath roads, with the commissioner for that area saying that recent tests done at the site indicated that those rolls would be beneficial for the longevity of repairs. County commissioners this week also approved sending some heavy equipment and some other items to auction after declaring them surplus. President's Day is coming up on Monday, February 16th, meaning that some government offices will be closed. Ardmore City Hall and the Operation Pride Drop-Off Center will be closed for President's Day, but both residential and commercial sanitation services will run as normal. Regular meetings of the Carter County Commission and the Ardmore City Commission next week will be held on Tuesday. Oklahoma saw one of the largest drops in overdose deaths across the country last year. The Carter County Prevention Coalition says that data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show Oklahoma overdose deaths fell by more than 42% between August of 24 and August of 25, the largest percentage decrease in the nation. The group says that the trends can be connected to a data-driven distribution of Narcan, improved access to treatment, and changes in the illegal drug supply. Up on the website this weekend and in our printed newsletter, we've got a letter to the editor responding to last week's column about how to be your own healthcare advocate. One reader points out difficulties in scheduling medical appointments with local providers and believes that more of those workers need to be in our area. You can read this week's letter along with previous editorials and letters to the editor on the opinion section of our website, ardmoreleader.com. After the news, we'll catch up with Ardmore financial advisor Cody Steele to get a look at how some stocks of local interest are performing. We'll also hear his market snapshot commentary from Friday. And now that Ardmore Leader has officially been around for 1 year, we can start looking back at what was happening this time last year, just a bit later in the podcast. But for right now, that's the headlines. Now we can really dive into the weeds of what happened this week in Ardmore for the week of February 13th, 2026. Fundraisers have been set up for some of the victims from a Monday fire at the Valero refinery complex. At least 3 of the reported 5 injured from this event remained hospitalized with severe burns this week, one of whom later died. Now, according to a statement from Valero sent to media outlets back on Monday evening, 5 people were taken to hospitals after that Monday fire. An email sent to a Valero contact on Thursday asking for additional details and updates was not returned. Fundraisers have been set up on the crowdsourcing platform GoFundMe to help at least 3 of those victims. Family members for the victims say that many of them are expected to be hospitalized for months to recover from extremely severe burns. Jesse Cole Biscamp of Kirbyville, Texas, was among those injured in the Monday fire. His aunt had set up a GoFundMe fundraiser for her nephew, who was reportedly airlifted to a burn unit down in Plano, Texas. But according to social media posts linked to Biscamp and that GoFundMe fundraiser, that married father of 2 young children died on Wednesday. Jose Silva Garza was also one of those hospitalized on Monday, according to his cousin. She says in her fundraiser for her cousin that Garza was taken to a Dallas hospital and is currently being treated for third-degree burns. Cesar Thomas was also identified as one of the victims by his brother on a separate GoFundMe. The brother says that Cesar Thomas suffered second and third-degree burns from that Monday fire and is expected to be hospitalized for at least 2 months to undergo surgeries. Over $60,000 in total had been raised for the three men by Thursday afternoon. Links to those GoFundMe fundraisers can be found on this story on the website, ardmoreleader.com. Now, two of those men, both Garza and Tames, hail from a small town in the state of Nuevo León, Mexico. The mayor of that town, David Sanchez, says that he and community members would be helping the victim's family during their recovery. The annual Valentine's Day Ball at the Ardmore Convention Center marks its 10th year on Saturday, February 14th, with the goal of raising funds for youth livestock exhibitors from across Carter County. According to the event's website, the Carter County Saddle and Sirloin Committee was formed back in 2016 to encourage fundraising initiatives. In its first year hosting the Boots and Bow Ties Valentine's Day Ball back in 2017, the group raised over $30,000 for the Carter County Junior Livestock Show. And last year, that annual event raised over $70,000 for that nonprofit youth show. Now, according to the event's website, donor support not only helps produce the event, but it also provides monetary awards for prize-winning animals to help students with either future projects or maybe even help with college endeavors. The Carter County Junior Livestock Show is scheduled for February 24th through 27th at the Hardy Murphy Coliseum. This annual event dates back to 1937 and hosts a countywide livestock show and premium sale for local 4-H and FFA members to exhibit their projects. Competitors this year expected to be showing sheep, goats, swine, and cattle. More information about the Carter County Junior Livestock Show, including information on donation and sponsorships, can be found on their website, ccjlsok.com. Upgrades to a portion of Plainview Road just south of Ardmore continue after Carter County Commissioners on Monday approved a low bid for geogrid rolls. Now, these geogrid rolls are polymer-based materials meant to reinforce and stabilize layers of soil. County Commissioners back on Monday approved a bid from Haynes Geo Components with a $282.72 unit price, just about a quarter cheaper than the next bid. Here is District 3 Commissioner Barry Lee Brinkman on Monday.
So we had a company come out on that, or several companies come out, and they did compaction tests, different subgrades on the materials, and every one of them came back good for this material to achieve what we're going to be doing.
Commissioners this week also approved several road crossing permits over in District 2. Commission Chair Owen Longest said that 6 of those permits for Continental Resources are for 60 days, while another 2 permits are only for 30 days. And multiple pieces of equipment from both County District 1 and District 2 were also declared surplus. Things like dump trucks, a sand spreader, and a plasma torch. Those items expected to be taken to an auction later next month. And on Monday, a representative from Our Blood Institute told commissioners that the Battle of the Barns blood drive would be returning this month after a successful blood drive last year. Hey, do you have any good news you want Ardmore to know about? We can actually feature your announcements online, in print, or on the podcast, totally for free. Visit ardmoreleader.com and check out the announcements page to submit your birth, engagement, or anniversary announcements. Right now, let's catch up with Ardmore financial advisor Cody Steele. Let's hear how some stocks of local interest are performing to close out the week, and we'll hear his Edward Jones Market Snapshot commentary from Friday afternoon.
This is financial advisor Cody Steele from Edward Jones, bringing you the daily financial market report. U.S. equity markets closed near flatline on Friday following a mostly inline consumer price index report for January, which showed headline CPI rising 2.4% year over year, while core CPI posted a 2.5% annual gain, the lowest core reading since 2021. Leadership tilted towards value and interest rate-sensitive sectors, with utilities and real estate among the top performers, while growth sectors such as technology and communication services lagged. The Russell 2000 Small Cap Index also outperformed, gaining roughly 1%. Bond yields closed lower in response to signs of ongoing disinflation, with the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield declining to 4.05%, its lowest level since last fall. Overseas, Asian markets closed lower overnight, while European markets traded mostly lower as well. Consumer Price Index inflation for January showed continued easing in price pressures, with headline CPI rising 0.2% for the month and 2.4% year over year, while core CPI increased 0.3% in January and 2.5% on an annual basis. The 2.5% annual gain in core CPI marks the lowest reading since 2021. Core goods prices were flat for the month, driven by a 1.8% decline in used vehicle prices, while goods prices outside the transportation category saw firmer pressures, with core goods excluding used vehicles rising 0.4%, potentially reflecting pass-through effects from tariff-related costs. On the services side, shelter prices rose a modest 0.2% for the month, while upward pressure in categories such as transportation services contributed to a 0.4% monthly increase in overall services prices. With inflation still running above the Fed's 2% target and this week's jobs market report indicating signs of stabilization, we believe the Fed will remain on hold in the near term. However, if inflation continues to moderate over the back half of the year, we see scope for the Fed to deliver another 1 or 2 interest rate cuts in the second half of 2026. After leading U.S. markets higher for most of the past 3 years, growth sectors such as technology are among the laggards year to date. With technology and the software industry has been particularly hit, with the S&P 500 software and services industry group down roughly 20% in 2026, amid rising concerns that advances in AI could erode market share for established software companies. While technology has lagged, old economy sectors such as materials, industrials, energy, and consumer staples have rallied, each gaining more than 12% year to date. Additionally, while the S&P 500 is roughly flat this year, the Russell Mid-Cap Index and Russell 2000 U.S. Small Cap Index are each up over 5%. International markets have also shown continued strength, with the MSCI EAFE Index, International Developed, up more than 8%, and the MSCI Emerging Markets Index up over 11%. In our view, the long-term story behind AI remains intact, and we maintain a favorable outlook for U.S. large-cap stocks. However, we think the recent rotation into international equities and value-oriented sectors underscores the importance of diversification. In addition to U.S. large caps, we see attractive opportunities in U.S. mid-cap stocks, international small and mid-cap equities, and emerging market stocks. Today, U.S. equities closed higher. The Dow closed up 49 points, or 0.1%, at 49,501. The NASDAQ closed down 50 points, or 0.22%, at 22,547. The S&P 500 closed up 3 points, or 0.05%, at 6,836. And in the bond market, the 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.05, lower by 0.05 percentage points. In stocks of local interest, Walmart was up 25 cents to $133.89 a share. Albertsons was up 64 cents to $18.57 a share. Dollar General was up $5.68 to $153.84 a share. Dollar Tree was down $2.37 to $126.06 a share. Best Buy was up 93 cents to $65.80 a share. OG&E was up 84 cents to $46.98 a share. Ollie's was down $1.39 to $113.70 a share. O'Reilly's was up $1.45 to $96.66 a share. ExxonMobil was down $1.48 to $148.45 a share. Devon was up 70 cents to $44.66 a share. And lastly, Valero was up $3.26 to $200.17 a share. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was down 22 cents or 0.35% at $62.60 a barrel. And the spot price of gold was up $98.80 or 2% to $5,047 an ounce. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cody Steele, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 333 West Main Street, Suite 275 in Ardmore, Oklahoma. If you'd like additional information, please contact me at 580-223-3870. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Ardmore Leader recently marked 1 year since launching a website, a podcast, and essentially becoming Ardmore's only locally owned newsroom. As a result, we can now do a quick review of what was happening 1 year ago with a new brief segment, this time last year. Back on February 14th, 2025, we published episode 3 of This Week that looked at some personnel changes over at Plainview Public Schools, including the resignation of now former football coach Joe Price. Later that month, board members would approve the hire of Scott Pratt from Idabel to take over the football program, and the Plainview School Board this time last year also agreed to hire a real estate agent, and within a few weeks would go on to approve the purchase of about 90 acres of mostly undeveloped land. Hey, does your group or organization have a public event coming up? Every episode of This Week wraps up with the schedule to give listeners an idea of just a few things happening around town. Email your event details to connect@ardmoreleader.com or call or even text me, 580-319-9688, and tell me all about it. Thanks so much for downloading episode 51 of This Week in Ardmore. This is our area's original weekly news and public affairs podcast from our only locally owned newsroom, Ardmore Leader. Now, I'm sure you've heard about the weekly printed newsletter we're distributing to restaurants and waiting rooms around town. If you can't get a copy of it, don't worry, you can actually have a digital copy sent directly to your email every Friday. Check out the website, ardmoreleader.com, scroll to the very bottom of the homepage, and get signed up for free. And Ardmore Leader is going to be a great source of information as we get closer to the April 7th local elections. Ardmore voters will have plenty to consider, from career tech representation to a proposed Ardmore sales tax. So make sure you're following us online. You've obviously found the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Links and details for subscribing to the podcast are on our independently owned podcast server, listen.ardmoreleader.com, or wherever you stream music or podcasts, just search for Ardmore Leader. We're also centralized and decentralized social media, things like Facebook and Mastodon. Wherever you are, just search Ardmore Leader, or you can also find our content paywall-free at ardmoreleader.com. We have gotten a few letters to the editor in recent weeks, and I want to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. Ardmore Leader will begin our in-depth coverage of local elections later this month, and I want to hear what questions you have for candidates running for office or for the officials proposing other ballot measures. So if you want to see those questions asked to those newsmakers, or just want to see your thoughts published locally, maybe you want to be part of the podcast, you are invited to sound off for all of that. Visit ardmoreleader.com and you can submit a letter to the editor there. You can also record a voice note on your smartphone and email that to soundoff@ardmoreleader.com. If you want to be on the podcast, I do ask you keep your recording under 60 seconds, and make sure you include your full name in the email so you can stand behind your statements. Now, if your group or organization has a public event coming up, let me know and I'll get it on the schedule. This is a weekly calendar of events on our area's original local news podcast, This Week in Ardmore. Just a friendly reminder, Monday, February 16th is President's Day, so some offices and services might not be available during the holiday on Monday. With that said, in public meetings next week, the Carter County Commission will hold their regular meeting on Tuesday morning, February 17th, at 9 a.m. at the County Administration Building. They're on the corner of A Street and Broadway, right here in downtown Ardmore. That agenda is available on the county's website now, cartercountyok.us. Among items to be considered by the County Commission next week is an agreement with the Kansas Highway Patrol. And the Ardmore City Commission meets for their second meeting of the month coming up on Tuesday, February 17th. That's at 6 p.m. on the third floor of City Hall there on South Washington and First Avenue. The agenda for that meeting is also on their city's website now, ardmorecity.org. And among items on the agenda for next week includes awarding a bid to resurface a portion of Comanche Street, as well as spending over $32,000 for rights-of-way along Kiowa Street for planned upgrades there. The Ardmore Beautification Council is gearing up for a community cleanup event next weekend. Whittington Park is the site for that community event, with the ABC providing all of the necessary supplies. This is coming up on Saturday, February 21st from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. with a meetup in the west parking lot of Whittington Park. That's G Street Southwest, right next door to the Hardy Murphy Coliseum. Do you ever want to speak up about an issue, but you're not really sure how to do it? The Oklahoma Policy Institute is coming to Ardmore later this month to host advocacy training to turn your values into action. You can learn how to call or even write lawmakers, find out how to share your own stories effectively, and then get involved in real campaigns and action groups. This advocacy training is happening at the Ardmore Public Library on Thursday, February 26th from 6 until 7:30 p.m. You can register for free by visiting the Oklahoma Policy Institute's website, okpolicy.org. Ardmore Parks and Recreation wants you to help light up the night with a Neon Nights bike ride coming up later this month. Decorate your bicycle with lights, glow sticks, streamers, or anything else that shines, and then head to the Regional Park Pavilion on Saturday, February 28th. Kids and parents can either ride, walk, or just kind of vibe with the community as the sun goes down and the music gets turned up. This free Neon Nights bike ride, sponsored by the Ardmore Parks and Recreation Department, is happening at the Regional Park Pavilion next to the playground there at Regional Park on Saturday, February 28th, beginning at 6 p.m. I'm Ardmore Leader News Director Michael Dean Smith. Thank you so much for downloading episode 51 of This Week in Ardmore. Follow us online, ardmoreleader.com, or on social media. And until next Friday, I hope you have a positive week ahead.